And the accusations of complicity leveled against the Immigration Service, the Interior Ministry, because indeed the man at the center of it all, who suffered some arrests in terms of his company, I'm talking about Hansol, has produced documents to suggest that indeed the Interior Ministry gave his Chinese workers the legitimate permit to work here. So how come they were arrested? We are told that some internal investigations have begun into this. The Hansol managing director himself has been invited for questioning. It's a raging subject. The MPP failed to deal with the mining issues. I'm talking about Galamsey. The NDC, some have said, they're also not doing enough about it. Today, we'll look at what to do with this particular matter and seeing how Ghana has a pretty cozy relationship with China, pretty much controlling every aspect of our economy right now, particularly in gas and oil. Can we really bite the hand that is feeding us 3 billion Ghana cedis right now and do the right thing, enforce our laws regardless of who it is? We will look at that as well. With me to look at all these issues I've talked about are two gentlemen you know very well because they don't shy away when it comes to the media. Rashid Popo is a Minister of State at the Presidency. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us here on Joint Caucus. Also is Kekwa Jimamenu. You know him as one of the key faces when it comes to the Public Accounts Committee. But today, he's joined us as MP for Doma West.
Doma Central now.
Doma Central. Thank you for the correction. But also now, he's the chairman of the PAC.
Public Accounts Committee, yes.
So he holds a pretty important position. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thank you.
Let's start off with the obvious, the ex gratia. And I'm interested to see if the two MPs agree on this subject, although they are from two parties, because they are under attack from the doctors, the teachers, the pharmacists, who else? The lecturers, the university lecturers as well, because they've been paid. We're told they were paid 200,000 Ghana cedis. I'll start with you, Ms. Ajimamenu. Have you received yours?
That is not correct. I received nothing. I even have a negative amount to pay back to the state and my bankers. That is the situation. But whoever tells you $200,000 is a very wrong
Ghana
figure.
cedis.
Ghana cedis is even a wrong figure. You know, for 4 years, we never had our conditions of service. Despite all agitations in Parliament, we couldn't walk out like the teachers and the doctors did. We were fighting, we were arguing, we were pushing our leadership. I was in part of leadership. Nothing came forward until the very final days of the term of the 4 years. When they do a determination, that is what they said, 7,200 for an MP. And that is even below some public workers in this country. Okay? So MPs are not those who are earning the top salaries in the country. And Ghanaians don't seem to appreciate and know about this. Our salaries are below, down, even hierarchy, right? We are somewhere below. Okay? There are people who are earning 15,000, 12,000 Ghana cedis a month and things like that. 24,000, with all pegs that we can talk about, cars, maintenance, and all that. You know, MPs always isn't that huge if you compare to some top people who are paid from state coffers, who are managed state agencies. Okay? But I believe that we deserve some level of some decent wages and salaries. They wouldn't determine it until 4 years. So when the determination is made, you have to claw back arrears. So assuming you're taking 3,300, 6,400, 5,400, and then you move to 7,200, has to be clawed back for 4 years. All this is calculated and added to your terminal benefits. And remember, one thing Ghanaians are overlooking is the fact that our type of job is contractual. 4 years, you have no job to do. If you're lucky to go back to your constituents and they say, go back and continue the job you're doing, you come and start from level 100 again. So all MPs there, whether you've been there for 3 terms, 12 years, so to say, 15 years, so to say, you take the same salary as a person who is coming in for the first time. We have a contractual agreement with the state to go 4 years, that is 1 term. Go back and contest. If you're lucky to win, you come back again and start a new contract. So that is what our feature is. And part of the conditions of our service is spelled out in the Constitution. After every 4 years, they should pay you some ex gratia, determined by a committee appointed by the state, by the president, that looks at it, and then Parliament will also look at it. If there are any agitations or arguments that we have to make on our for our own benefit, we do so, and the president will determine eventually what the committee may have advised him to do. And that is the situation. So you do a calculation over 4 years. Some aspect of our rent still added on to that. For 4 years, we never received any committee allowance. So all those things are computed into it. And then the ex gratia, this time round, was even lower in terms of determination. 4 months for each year of service. The previous one was 5 months for each year of service, you know. And then the whole hullabaloo about this.
But do you understand that if you put it in the context we have right now, where
what is
we have a crisis on the labor front?
You guys are not helping.
The doctors, the teachers,
no, that is
crying.
not part of our problems. Let me tell you. We have used 15 million Ghana cedi for Guinea Fowl project. We have overspent our budget, targeting 6.7 budget deficit to 12% budget deficit. So if there's no money in the consolidated account, what has that got to do with the MP's discretion?
But how come if there's no money, they found money to pay you?
Do you know what happened? We also had a bargaining chip.
Which is?
We had to approve the budget.
Okay.
And we don't know what goes on in Parliament. We also had our own type of strike. My colleague here, if he's very honest with you, agitation from the backbench, including even me. You don't pay us this money, we don't see how your budget is going to go through. Things like that. And these things don't come out so
I'm assuming
public,
that this will include the NDC MPs because they have the majority. They could have said,
I don't want to say anything. When it comes to working conditions, we are MPs.
They're united.
Whether you are MPP or you are NDC, you are an MP, and we have a common objective. So if you decide to be NDC when you are fighting for your own benefits, that is your own palaver. If you decide to be MPP when you are fighting for your own benefits, that is your own palaver. And as simple as that.
So you're saying that the problem is not inability to pay other workers who are agitating, but I'm
not running the state coffers.
But it's the improper running of the state affairs.
I am not running the state coffers. I'm an opposition member. Listen very, very well. It is the government's responsibility, the president and the executive, to do what is right. Okay? Over the last 3 months to the end of the year, 3 months to the end of the year, if you look at what happened in almost every ministry, every state agency, and you come and tell me there's no money to pay teachers,
doctors,
doctors and everybody. I mean, it's funny. And some of us are so worried about the way our coffers have been exhausted. We are not very comfortable with that at all. And you see, Ghanaians should listen to some of us in opposition in Parliament. We are interrogating several things. The Public Accounts Committee hasn't sat. We haven't got the Auditor General's report for 2012 yet. Through the budgetary system, look at things that opposition has brought out. Right? You overspend a ministry's account. We ask what is the reason. These are some of the reasons. And then Guinea Fowl fence, $33 million for afforestation. The following year, no allocation. What is the challenge? Then some of these things are coming out. So I believe that we're going to see even more, probably worse things when we begin to see Auditor General's accounts and when we begin to interrogate it, probably at the Public Accounts Committee level. So you see, we don't blame MPs. We also are Ghanaians. We have some entitlements. We also do work, and we should also be entitled to certain fence.
Mr. Popo, fair points he's made.
You know, I don't think there isn't so much against it. The whole irony of it is that, as I sit here, I could as well have been a vice chancellor of a university.
Exactly.
I could be a managing director of a state agent.
And if you were a vice chancellor, you wouldn't have been paid right now. You'd be agitating.
Do you know how many vice chancellors earn in this country?
More than you?
Sooner or late, I filed a question in Parliament, and I was the finance minister to bring to us in Parliament the top paid, some Ghanaians, their salaries and things like that. And you see that MPs are earning even half of
these are people in private sector and public sector.
Earn about twice as much as what MPs earn.
But what purpose would that serve if the finance minister
so that when they are talking about MPs, they also talk about other people in this country who earn more than the MPs. You see, the whole thing is being projected as if MPs are the most well-paid Ghanaians in this country.
Isn't that true?
No.
You get car loans, you get ex gratia, you get 7,200 to go home.
To SGSSB. That is what the State Bank. 26% interest. If you default, penal 6 points above the 26%. 32%
But those
over
loans
4
are
years.
dependent on your salary. Your salary is huge. You can pay and finance that loan, and that's why you're getting it.
That is like I'm tell you, some of us have negatives. I have my laptop here.
Negative amount in your
Yes.
account.
When you calculate your rent advance that wasn't paid, arrears of rent, we get 20% of our salary as rent, which I think is normal in the civil service. If you look at our committee work allowances that was never paid for 4 years. If you look at what other thing again that was there, salary arrears and things like that, you add all that to the gratia and you will see what is actually there. They take away your loans you take in from some of the banks. The parliament will say undertaking that your terminal benefits will be taken to pay them. And then the state even give us money on account to go and do our, how do I call it? The campaigns. The campaigns cost us huge amounts of money. I spent close to 2.94 billion on my campaign. And all my colleagues are like that. I mean, nobody will tell you that they spend something less. That is just on the general elections. Not forgetting about the primaries and things that some of us go through twice, 3 times, before you get yourself elected. It's a very expensive job that we are doing. The risk profile, the expenditure profile on us is so huge, right? The state doesn't fund us in any respect. You use your entitlements to do some of these things. And I bet you that is huge.
Let me bring in Mr. Purple. He said a lot of things, and if you want to break it down, the agitation so far had been that the MPs were paid at a time when all other public sector workers have not been paid their premiums. So why do you pay the MPs and not pay the others? When, if you categorize them, essentially you're all civil servants. That was the argument. But his argument, moving on from there, is that, well, it's not about that, but it's about governments being able to pay, run the economy in such a way that you have enough in your state coffers to pay. That then is an indictment on government then, if government has paid one section and not paid the other. Is that a fair analysis to make?
Well, that is running away from the issues. But he said that nobody should blame members of parliament for this, what has happened. But he is saying that he is gone ahead to blame government for what he says is an expenditure and overshooting of our budget. And for most of his analysis, I do agree with him, because it is true that there is an overblown impression about what MPs earn in this country. Let me tell you, for that salary of 7,200 you are talking about, the MP buys his own fuel from that. The MP pays his driver from that. The MP pays his own he pays his own rent. He's given rent allowance, but so he pays his own rent. He buys his he pays for his own constituency visits and everything associated with working with just an ordinary civil servant. What you do, the MPs are not giving money to buy fuel. They pay for their car loan, they pay for their insurance, they run their own campaigns. So in the end, that 7,000 is reduced to nothing. When I was a leader in parliament, I sometimes grieve for some of the members of parliament. And you see a member of parliament walking out to you because you are a leader, asking you to fuel his car back home.
You're joking.
I'm telling you the fact. You see a member of parliament who has a salary negative. He takes, at one point, one of the leaders, I won't mention his name, he was taking 150 Ghana cedis a month because he was paying his car loans, he was paying for a loan he took to run his campaign and had to pay for it. And because the salary is inadequate and every month you had to do things, he took bank loans in order to, he will go to this bank, take loan, go to this bank, take loan, and then, just to sustain him. So when people come, you can pay the medical fees, you can go to funerals and be able to pay expenses, spend money here and there.
Plus, you're not allowed to work as a member of parliament unless you're given explicit permission.
Yeah, so at the end of it all, MPs are compelled to go in for loans and against a small salary. Now, what now happened was, at the end of the 4 years, what the MPs were given was to be given their salary arrears after the committee report had been approved by the presidency and by parliament. Then it then beholds on government to now go back and pay the arrears that was owed to MPs. That arrears plus the 4-month salary, best salary of members of parliament times 4, which is the ex gratia, was also paid them. So you have a staggered payment until they give you that lump sum. Now, the calculation then was for them to calculate all the small monies you have received until now, put it all together and say MPs are receiving 200,000. I hope you understand what I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying.
Their salary arrears were staggered because government couldn't pay all of it.
But eventually you were paid everything, eventually.
Yeah,
although it was spread over a period.
It was spread over a period and it was being paid. This time around, the payment of the salary arrears also coincided with the ex gratia. It also coincided with the committee allowances that had not been paid for 4 years. And it coincided with some of the rent allowance that was to be paid as, and you didn't get.
I want to ask a question on that, because the question that the doctor will ask you, the teacher will ask you, the pharmacist will ask you is, if it was spread over a period and eventually was paid, coincided with the ex gratia payment, how come you haven't done same for them? No,
but that's an unfair question.
Probably let me.
You see, the doctor is not earning the same salary as he was earning 4 years ago. You know the reason? He had been migrated into the SSS. The MPs were not migrated.
The salaries were enhanced.
The MP
to 7,200.
Yes. No, but that is long after they had been enjoying it for 3 years. We had been marking time for 3 years. That's number one. We had been receiving the same salary since 2005. After 2005, up to 2008, there should have been some change. It didn't occur. When President Mills came, he adjusted the salary, but it did not take effect until 3 years ago. I mean, until last year when they said that, when the report came and they gave us that 7,200. And so now, if you go back, even we lost 2 years. We lost the last parliament, the increment that should have taken place in the last parliament. There was a standing order, or there's a standing directive that after every, in order not to create a problem for MPs, if you have a salary since 2005 and you are supposed to be on that salary and the commission report is not yet out, then they should just simply add 20% each. So for 2005 and 2008, that standing directive did not apply. There should have been some areas that we would take. They didn't give it to us. We are in the older parliament. In this parliament, it got built up when the committee report came and the 7,200 was given us. So it should have covered a longer period of arrears, but it didn't go that far because that was then another administration. It was then another parliament, and no parliament decision is binding on the other. So you see, you couldn't go back there.
So that was forgone.
Yeah. So let me also say, why should any doctor say that? Why should any pharmacist say that?
Because they've been told that government says they don't have money in the coffers.
They have been working for
for 4 years.
If they choose to work for all their lives as a pharmacist or a doctor or a teacher, they'll work for all their lives. If they choose to resign and go to another job, they will do it. MPs have a 4-year contract with the people. We sign a social contract with the people. And we say that within the 4 years we are going to work. The Constitution spelled out the conditions that under which we are going to work. The Constitution in Article 71 has spelled out the type of officers who are going to be covered by the President's committee. And the conditions of service will be spelled out by the committee reports. That's what the Constitution said. And it is also the Constitution that talks about ex gratia for members of parliament and some other people. Now, if you are questioning that, you are questioning the whole foundation of our democracy. You are asking whether we should have a parliament at all. You are asking whether there should be another...
Would that be a fair question to ask?
It's to be a fair question to ask. We are in a democracy. Anybody can ask any question. But then you should look yourself in the face and ask whether you need that question. You know,
the doctor will say the same.
The alternative.
Are you saying that it's not important then to have a doctor?
No, it's very important. I'm saying
to
that.
have a pharmacist.
It's also important to have an MP.
You would need a structural arrangement. You need a superstructure.
But isn't that the question then? Then put all of them on the same scale. Don't prioritize one over the other.
No, but let me
and
tell
give
you.
one the full payment over a period of time and not give one.
No.
Eva,
It's the doctor saying
and tell them that you don't have money in the coffers, but yet they've seen you pay others.
Please.
No. We saw them pay them. Did we complain when they paid doctors the SS?
Leader, wait.
We didn't complain.
Leader, wait. Look at our situation. Close to 90 people couldn't come back to Parliament. They lost the elections. Between January and now, they have no salary. No gratia.
They should have found some other work to do.
No, whether they find, how long does it take any single Ghanaian to find a job?
So that's the reality of every Ghanaian.
When you come out from Parliament.
That's the reality of every Ghanaian.
So when you come out from Parliament, your situation is more peculiar to any other person.
Why?
Several organizations wouldn't want to see you because you are branded. Listen very well. MP on NDC side, MP on MPP side, several organizations wouldn't want to know you at all because of your political color, because of your branding. 3 months, not many of us can find jobs to go to. So you are home. Without the gratia, you have nothing to feed on. The doctor at least have something. We're looking for an upgrade. Listen very well. When the upgrade doesn't come, the very low end of it, at least that one, he takes on a monthly basis. But here we are with people, MPs, with no money, no bread, nothing, even to pay rent and things like that. How do you expect them to survive? That is a peculiar situation. And if you look at the Transitional Committee's report, this money should have been paid on the 6th of January 2013. So haven't we done well?
Well, the doctor will say no.
No, the doctor will say no. But the doctor should also look at the plight of the MP who has lost his elections. No job, right? In Ghana, despite whatever people are talking about MP salaries, I must tell you honestly, very many of us have got any savings at all.
I see. There's a question I want to ask you, Honorable Purple, because shouldn't government be in a position to be able to foot all these bills without claiming to one section that we don't have money?
I think that's...
because that's what every employer must do, right? Because
and I'd like to address them. You see, the whole package in the box for us to... that manifests in the budget last year was about 13.something billion.
Yeah.
Single spine salary scheme alone took 8 billion out of it. 8 billion single spine salary, implementation of single spine salary.
Because I'm told you rushed to implement.
8 billion. No, it's not the question of ration. In fact, that's not the issue now. But I'm talking about what the
quantum.
The people who are asking, the quantum they took from the chunk of the total revenue that we had to disburse. 8 billion. We spent 2 billion subsidizing every other Ghanaian.
Fuel.
From fuel. Subsidize them. That's 10 billion. And...
But, people don't go there.
No, so I'm saying
on
that,
the floor of the house.
But just wait.
That we knew we were doing single spine. We would have budgeted for these things. We said we would do 6.7% budget deficit percent of our GDP over and above the budget. So whoever was budgeting didn't take consideration of the teachers and the doctors and all that. If you could overspend, SADA to do guinea fowl. We could overspend 199 million to do youth and sports ministry. If you could overspend so much, why couldn't we then overspend to do teachers and doctors?
Fair question, and please try and answer that for me.
Yeah, I like the way he's now.
I've said it on the floor of the house.
He's now
in my budget debate. I said it.
No, but seriously, those are the questions the doctors are asking as well.
Yeah, let me
see all these. And
let me come to this. That we have overspent our salary package. I mean, the allocation to salary because the single spine, what we are seeing now should have covered up to 5 years. We are taking 3 years to spend
Who
money.
made that decision?
Let me say something. So the overspending, those who are complaining, they are beneficiaries of that over expenditure he is talking about, and he's not aware.
But it's a sign that the person who was paying was not planning properly,
including Parliament.
Exactly.
Pardon?
But it's also a sign that the person who was paying was not planning properly.
That is the problem.
Projecting and looking ahead and planning.
It's not a question of planning properly. You see, we are in a situation where if something is not done, these questions you are asking will be asked. You see, you are asking why we didn't overspend to pay the teachers, the doctors.
Yeah.
We had already overspent to pay them.
Okay.
Yes, we had already overspent to pay them.
So how come they still have outstanding issues?
Overspend to pay them fully.
You are now asking
and stop all these
for us to
agitations.
overspend to pay them more. I think it will not be fair to the people of Ghana.
Okay.
That we have only a certain small percentage of people in the formal sector taking salary. You are taking everything that comes in the kitchen. That is meant for road construction, school construction, meant for every other thing. You are using it to pay salaries alone. And they are still agitating and saying, still pay more, overspend more. I don't think it's fair. So what we are saying is that the government has not faltered in anything. What has happened must be blamed on every Ghanaian, and especially all the formal sector workers.
Withdraw that.
Yes.
Evans, you're a Ghanaian.
It must be blamed on all of us.
What role did you play in that?
The role he played is that he benefited from the 2 billion.
How did he benefit?
I want you to hold your
we
fire.
paid
We'll take a short break and then we'll come and continue on this point. This is Joint Caucus. Stay with us. When we come, we'll pick up on that particular point. Should we all take the blame? Or should a particular group of people who were elected to lead us take the blame? We'll return shortly with those details. When we were off, the debate was still continuing. I just want to pick up from where we left off. The question was asked, who should take the blame? Should we all take the blame, the 25 million of us, or should the elected officials take the blame exclusively? I don't know if you had an answer to that.
Yes, we all have to take the blame.
I don't agree.
The majority of Ghanaians who insisted they don't want us to withdraw subsidies on petroleum, we paid 2 billion on petroleum subsidy. It has continued to affect it continues to affect us. It went down the drain. The majority of formal sector workers who insisted, especially those in the public service, who insisted they need to have increased salaries, and they kept increasing their salaries, applying the SSS, single spine salary scheme, they have taken 8 billion out of the chunk. And together you get about 10 billion from the 13 billion we got. Only 3 billion left for us to use to maneuver, to do all the things we are doing. So I'm saying that if you give that to the ministries and expect the ministry not to overspend, and still insist that they should do all the things we are doing now, build roads, be able to employ youth employment people, pay them their allowances, do all the things that you want to do, keep the hospitals running, get clean water to drink, get roads done, and within that small basket of, you'll be unfair to government. But that's not the issue.
That's the
issue. In fact, the issue...
Quickly, so that I can give him a chance to respond, then we can move on to the next topic.
The issue is about whether it is fair for government to have responded to the pressures from members of parliament to pay their allowances and salaries. Yeah. You see, what we receive, it has to be made very clear, is not completely ex gratia. We receive an accumulated salary arrears. For all the 4 years we stayed there, we were paid below the normal salary of a member of parliament, as spelled out by the committee. So now, members of parliament who are no longer members of parliament exited. They came back to parliament, all in arms, saying, we can't go about as puppets. Those in parliament are crying and saying, we are going to take a loan. He led a fight in parliament, saying that if we don't pay ex gratia, they will take loans. And then we insisted, leadership said, look, don't take any loan. Because if you take a loan, the ex gratia comes, you don't have money, you can't stay in parliament to work.
You couldn't survive.
Eventually, so many of them ignored it and went to take loans. Today, they don't even have the ex gratia. What they are calling 200,000 is really negative in some of their accounts.
It hits your account, the bank takes it.
Negative. he is one of the negative persons.
You too.
know.
I have your figure here.
Yeah, you see, so that's the problem we are facing.
Okay, I want to bring in quickly wrap up for us on this one.
You can't blame all of us. You have no role to play. Those who sat the back and allowed our currency to devalue from 1.4 to 1.9 within the twinkle of an eye are to be blamed. Those who agreed to put priority into guinea fowl, rearing. Those who decided to do 33 million Ghana cedi into afforestation that will not continue the following year are supposed to be blamed. Those who did budgeting and did so many things wrong into it. Okay? These are the challenges. The MP salary you're talking about, 7,200. You slash it by 2, it's $3,600. You don't you earn more than $4,000 a month?
He does. I don't.
Several bankers, middle class people, middle management group. Yes, when I was in Toyota, I was director for finance. 12 years back, I was earning close to $5,000 a month.
That's a management.
Today, my salary is $3,600.
But it's a decision you make to go.
It's a decision I made to go to serve my country.
Exactly.
And I don't regret. But that doesn't mean that I'm not entitled to a better deal. Right? So the problem we have now is that we have agreed as government to do certain things. Policy. We will do single spine. Right? We entice people to come and sit on table with us. We negotiate, pay them. We don't pay. We decide to use the money for something else. This youth employment of expenditure of 200 million Ghana cedi, they claim salary arrears to youth employment people. There's a clinic in Parliament. The nursing module, there are some of the girls there. Go there tomorrow morning and ask them. They still owe their money. Go to my constituency. Doma Inkro, youth employment people, 18 months, they haven't paid them salaries. Allowances. The painful aspect of it is that not even teachers, not even doctors, training nurses, those in nursing training colleges, people, young students in teacher training colleges, having been paid their training allowances for 18 months. Contractors in our country. So where is that money? That is why everybody is demanding very seriously that we should be paid our due. It's contractual. It's an agreement. We have negotiated. So where is it? Give it to us now and no more. You see, you sit down. Listen, I haven't finished. For our currency to devalue by the level that it did, we have dollar-denominated loans that we have contracted to service. And we exchange the cedis in tax revenues to service our debts. So instead of 1.4 to $1, you sit back to let it become 2 cedis to $1. It means that all your tax revenues will go into debt servicing. How will you get the money to pay doctors? And then you come and tell us that all Ghanaians should be blamed. Are we managing the economy?
I don't know what he's talking about when he's talking about the devaluation. Just check out how the cedi devalued from the time it was 0.9 to $1, and then when they handed over in 2009, it devalued up to 1.4 to the dollar.
Between which period?
And
be very careful with
and now it is 1.9 after 4 years.
So be a little bit careful.
It is now 1.4, 1.9
4 years.
After 4 years. He is complaining and saying there's devaluation.
Be very careful.
You devalue the currency far more faster than we have.
You know I'm a backbencher,
but you see,
and you're a leader. So be careful.
But let me come to his guinea fowl accusation.
So that we can wrap up.
Yeah, his guinea fowl accusation.
Not only the guinea fowl, add the afforestation as well.
You see,
the 32 or
33 million.
I remember last year when the SADA was not given a penny. I mean, was not mentioned in the budget. There, the same people were up in arms.
I said it.
He, in particular, led a crusade and said, why is it that when they came, Nana Akufo-Addo was promising 1 billion, and we have come and we haven't given SADA a peso?
That was in your manifesto. What was in your manifesto?
This time around, they have given SADA some allocation.
They didn't give SADA any allocation.
And SADA
has borrowed money.
It doesn't matter whether it's borrowed or not. It's going to be paid by the people of Ghana.
And it didn't come to Parliament for approval.
I'm saying that after they have given them that amount of money, SADA has chosen that guinea fowl rearing is a very delicious meat.
No, it's a bankable project.
It is something that if you pick on it and give the farmers, empower the farmers, give them the knowledge of breeding it, ensure that you have a market outlet for them, ensure that you have a storage facility, ensure that you have incubators for it, and give it a modern outlook in production, you are likely to affect the lives of so many other people who were doing it part-time. So that thought alone gave the impression that, well, if you allocate that...
million?
Yeah, if you...
15 million?
The project cost is not 15 million.
You are talking about millions
It's the government share that is 50 million.
Yeah.
So the private sector person who owns 60% should contribute 25 million. So the project cost is not 15, it's 40 million.
Yeah, so what is the problem?
That is on condition that the private sector person has paid up his shares.
And from what we know, they've paid up according to what the other people tell us.
That's what they are telling us.
Yes, that's what they've said.
So that's a 40 million project.
So that's a big project, that is going to ensure that it affects the lives of so many farmers. It will be done for export, internal consumption and for export. If it does happen, so many people will be employed. So we just picked on this project, hoping that it will affect the lives of people. But they mentioned it with so derogatory, expression. Oh, guinea fowl that, and people are suffering. This is populist. And I think we should be more objective and straightforward when we are discussing this.
We are told to expect some results in 5 years as far as the guinea fowl project is concerned. We'll wait and see what happens.
We can't wait for 5 years.
I just want 30 seconds comments on
what is the lifetime of a guinea fowl?
What the president did
5 years?
in filing his tax return. Some say the way to get enough money to pay everybody is to everybody else paying their taxes. And it was part of the measures put in the budget. The president doing what he did this week by filing his tax returns. In 30 seconds, wrap up. Was it good enough? Or
it was wonderful.
Was this a PR gimmick?
What the president did was great. I mean, it shows commitment. It's telling every Ghanaian that tax paying is critical for our development. It's important for us to depend more internally, get internal revenue mobilization seriously done so you can have more money rather than going out to borrow. The beginning of it is to be serious with individual tax returns. And what he did, even if people complained that there had not been some procedural mistakes, the act of it all was wonderful, it was good. And
sorry to ask this question, but have you filed yours?
Yeah, I filed mine last year, and
yes, you see, we're going for election.
And what do you make of the president's?
Before I see it as a very populous thing, a very serious PR gimmick. Why didn't he ask his finance minister to go to do that? After the president by constitution.
Leadership by example.
After the president by constitution doesn't pay taxes. What is his business going to do?
He says these are things he did aside his main salary.
The president has written a book.
He wrote a book and
the book is being...
You know what? If this is in our statutes, right, it should have sanctions. So why doesn't the president sit in the office and tell the revenue authorities that let us go after those who don't file? Okay,
I'm just told I have to wrap up here. This is obviously an interesting
leadership
one linked to the question about Arsenal having money in the state coffers. But I need to wrap up. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us here on Join Caucus. With me looking at all the issues, really, and it's been an interesting one. My producer will slaughter me if I don't end right now.
Let you listen to this.
Okay, I need to. Yeah, exactly. So I need to wrap up.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Right? Do you know how much our social security is paying on?
How much?
Our basic salary is 1,900.
Okay.
That is all.
Okay, that's information that I'm sure will benefit all of us as we continue our discussion. But I need to wrap up. Thank you very much, Kweku Ajimamenu, MP for Doma Central, and also the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee. Also, Rashid Purple, Honorable, thank you very much for joining us, Minister of State at the Presidency. Join us again next week, same time, here on the Join This channel.
Probably.